What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about Bitcoin today. Hit that like button, subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and let's get into it, you guys. We're sitting at about $96,100. It is the 27th of December now. A little bit of a red day yesterday. If you look at the daily RSI, it is looking a little bit bearish. Generally, with this kind of look, I would expect that you see prices or readings down in the oversold zone. That kind of expectation would lead me to believe that not only do we move lower in Bitcoin's price, but we break out of this zone, which would probably take us, at least down to about 87, 85K, if not lower. That's the look that the daily has. However, we are undeniably, we are undeniably in some kind of consolidation phase, right? So this is a consolidation phase, right? And it might even extend all the way back to here. We moved up and we've been consolidating for quite some time, okay? As you get to the end of any consolidation phase, you see volume really die off. And it's been at some of the lowest points that we've seen. We haven't had a really average day of volume in about a week or so now, right? So it's just a matter of time before we break out of this consolidation phase. Do we break out to the upside or the downside? I would expect whatever the move is, I would expect that there is some volume to come with it, right? Probably readings that are similar to these levels that we saw here on the way down, or even greater than that, right? So whichever direction we move with above average volume to back it would really be a compelling argument for the continued directional heading that we have in the coming weeks and months even. So I do expect that we'll move up. I don't expect that we'll move down. Yes, the daily RSI is not the best looking, but you are above the 40, and you did bounce off the 40 area. Technically, the last time that you were here, you did bounce off this exact same area for support. You found support on it before and even back here. Not always, but at times you do. If you look at the three-day time frame, you are finding support at the area you found support before. You found support in this area before, support right there. A little bit of resistance in this area, somewhat of a significant zone nonetheless. And you had a bullish engulfing 3-day period close, not yesterday, but the day before. You had a bullish engulfing candle. So that's a nice look in itself. We look at the weekly time frame, the weekly RSI coming down to the overbought zone, getting overbought. Now you're not. You're actually cooled off a little bit at an area where you found support before, and you did this kind of similar exact maneuver here, right, where you went up. Same thing here. And that I think was the double top last cycle, right? Or no, it wasn't. Sorry, that was the move. My bad. That was the move up into this consolidation phase pre and post halving here. That was this move up, right? Your first move, in other words, you moved up here, then you paused for a little bit, and then you continued moving up. When you paused, you got out of the overbought zone, and then when you moved up again, you got back into the overbought zone after finding support here. When you moved up here and where you paused, you were in the overbought zone. Whenever you got to the low point, just out of the overbought zone, and then you reach back into it, that's whenever you began your last phase last time up. This might be where you begin your next phase up as well before seeing some kind of larger consolidation phase, and I think it might be appropriate to assume that January would see a larger consolidation phase than what we've experienced recently. And I think this is a nice notice on the weekly RSI. You look at this, it's pretty comparable. It's a little bit longer even in time than this was here, but very comparable, especially with like the considered move and all, right? Moving up, then sideways, then up again, kind of a three-part move there. We're getting the same kind of idea here, right? Breaking out of this consolidation phase, we've broken out, we've moved up, and then sideways, and then maybe up again, something like that. I probably would expect that we see a larger phase of consolidation than what we've experienced here. Probably not something as big as this, and maybe not something as big as this, but something larger than this perhaps, something even larger than this perhaps. I would assume it is at least a month long, at the most 3 months long, but probably not quite 3 months is what I would guess, but at least a month long. And I think that this next move, again, it's going to start soon. So when we moved up here, it took us really like 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks, maybe even 3 weeks arguably, to move up into this area, right? It took us 3 weeks, 1, 2, 3, to start consolidating. Maybe it takes us 3 weeks to move up, 1, 2, 3, and it's the week of the 13th of January. Maybe it's 1 week after that. It's the week of the 20th of January, somewhere in that time frame that we move up to our next phase, and then we consolidate again. So lining up with the idea that, again, we get a comparable move up like we did last time. If I draw this actually from the start of the move here to the top, and then I move this over. Come on. From the low, you can see that this was actually pretty similar in size. It was actually a little bit bigger. If I did the same thing here, but timing-wise, it's actually perfect. Timing-wise, it's the exact same size timing-wise, right? Started here on this candle, ended here on this candle, started here on this candle, ended here on this candle. Perfect, same timing, right? Timing-wise, it was the same move. Size-wise, this move was a little bit bigger. Here you're moving up. We measured this essentially from the low right there to the high. Maybe I shouldn't have even done that high, right? The low on this week probably up to this high here. Okay, maybe that was the high that it did. I don't know. I feel like that's the appropriate high to take, though, that high right there. Put it at the low here. You know, a move like that would call for a price around 142K on the 20th of January. That week, you guys know what the 20th of January is, right? That's the inauguration, Trump's inauguration, right? A bullish event, bullish news, buy the hype, sell the news event. Probably dump off after that, and that's probably where we will see a larger phase of consolidation. Again, maybe not something quite as big as this, but maybe not something quite as small as this. Something in between is what I'd expect. Definitely not like this. And in which case, here, from a high to a low, we dropped 20%. We also, from a high to a low, dropped again 21.7%. Here, from a high to a low, we dropped 21%. So if we're assuming that potentially we could see the exact same move up as we saw here into this end of January move around the inauguration date of Trump, if we saw that move up there, and if it was the exact same move, last time it was a little bit bigger, but if it was the exact same move and we saw something of a 21% drop, a 21.7% drop, a 20.2% drop, a high to low 22.5% drop, I don't know. These are just the drops that we've seen so far in this bull cycle. Aside from the grandiose drop that we had here from this large phase of consolidation, which was 33%, the overall largest drop that we saw. Aside from that, the average drop has basically been between 20 and 22%. Okay, this whole bull cycle. So we haven't really done that here, have we? High to low, 14.8%. Maybe when we get up here and we see a deeper, by the way, I think this drop probably would have been smaller. If we look at the relative high before that, I mean, that would have been about 16.1%, which is pretty close to what we saw here at 14.8. I think this wick, that was the ETFs being approved, being launched for Bitcoin. I think that gave us a little bit of a pump up, right? Kind of like a like a black swan event, but a white swan event kind of, right? But then it sold off immediately. But I don't think this would have been as large. And especially, you know, we're comparing this range here to this range here. We don't have the ETF launched now, so we don't have that initial surge in price. But if without that, this drop would have been 16.11%. The drop that we have now from a high to a low is 14.8. Those are a lot more comparable. That's the only connection I'm trying to make. Okay, assuming that we could drop, because we're not going to consolidate like this. We're already doing that now. We'd be in one of these consolidation moves, right, where we see a 20% drop, something bigger. Assuming that we stop probably somewhere around 140K by the end of January, confidently call that the whole month of December, even though December was not what we expected. It didn't perform how we expected it. My end of January targets have not changed. They've maintained the same position. And that's not me being stubborn. That's me not seeing enough evidence in the charts to suggest otherwise. In fact, the more that I look at the charts, the more it does suggest that we will be at least above 120K, if not very well, potentially even above 140K by the end of January. If we saw that move, okay. By the way, high here in March of this year, low in August. We take this measure move, by the way, from this white line. It's the exact same measurement as this move here, right? If we were just to project that out, that move would take us right to the red line here in this fib. From a high to a low, it's all the way at this double golden extension, the 2618. The golden ratio of life is the 618. 2618, it's literally perfect right there. It's literally right there. Just thought I'd mention that, okay? It's literally one of the next targets that we have based on the fibs here. And we've been respecting it very well. We're finding support on the 1618 now, finding support on it. Likely we will go to the 2618, if not at least the 2272. But I digress. What I'm trying to say is if we were to see this move as we're expecting it to be around 140 to 145K by the end of January, and then we saw a drop that was to be expected, like what we've seen with the rest of the cycle so far. Maybe what we see is something down to about 113K. Maybe we see a 25% drop and we come all the way down to these highs here and we see 105K. But likely what all of this means is that when Bitcoin decides to get its act together and start making this next move up above 100K, above 110K, above 120K, above 140K, whenever it does this, likely the next pullback, however long it takes to happen, will not be below $100. Or it won't be below 100, guys. $100,000. My bad. $100,000. Likely, you won't even see it get below $105,000. That might be the actual low. But 26%, that's a little bit larger of a drop than what we expect. As the moves get bigger, so might the drops. Okay, fair's fair. But I don't know. You never know. If not 26%, certainly something, around, I think, 22 to 25% sounds about right. I couldn't see us dropping 22% and not interacting with these highs. We get so close, but who knows? It could happen. I don't know. You didn't pull back here to these highs, did you? To these relative highs, kind of. Previous lows. But anyways, I think I've made the point. I think I've said everything that I need to say. I think Bitcoin looks bullish. I really do. I think that it's about to move up. The 4-hour time frame itself, we've got higher lows right here. We look like we're nice in posture to the upside. It looks like we have a nice kind of parallel channel going up. We're at the bottom of it, right? Every single time we've been here in price, that was this low, that was this low, and that's this low now. I think that we are moving up. And what's great about this low, the difference between this low here and these other two lows, is when we moved up here, why won't it let me? Come on. When we moved up here, that was still a lower high in this trend down. Okay, you moved up here, it was a slightly higher high, sure, slightly higher high, or is it? No, or is it a lower? Yeah, slightly higher high, but you didn't get any continuation, right? It's nothing really proven itself yet. But now, when you move up, you've got, and maybe it moves up this high, maybe it only moves up this high, however high. Now you have two higher highs, and you have two higher lows, and potentially your volume was dying off as you're moving down, right? And then it can start to come back in as you're moving up. That would look really bullish as well. So I don't know, the 4-hour, beyond all that, beyond all of that theory, I think that the 4-hour looks bullish, especially with the look that it has here. I think that these moves right now, as big as that was to the upside, as big as this was to the upside, this next move could be bigger, because in this trend in your RSI, you were not in the overbought zone here at the highs. You weren't in the overbought zone here at the highs. But this next attempt likely does get you in the overbought zone. And with that, I would expect to see a stronger move than either of these, right? Where you found resistance in the same areas, this next move likely does break you out. So I would assume, being on the 4-hour time frame, you guys, it's Friday now. By the end, this is going to happen over the weekend. This is going to happen over the weekend. I think that by the end of the week, we will be back above 100, maybe like 102K, 103K, maybe higher than that, and on our way to higher prices by the end of the year and going into next year. So definitely exciting. I think it starts now. If you like the video, hit the like button. Subscribe if you want to see more content like this, you guys. I thought this was a good video. I don't know. Take care. Bye-bye.